Hello, my name is Taina Bieneme, and welcome to 28 Minutes, Issues that Matter to New York City and to the world. Today we are having a special 58-minute program and a conversation about suicide and suicide attempts among youth and and how this crisis is disproportionately affecting the Latino community here in New York City and around the world. Latina teens and young women attempt suicide at rates far greater than their non-Latina counterparts, more than twice the rate of white youth in New York City and 44% more than African American teens. To help us understand this devastating trend and what some people call an epidemic, we welcome three experts in the field: Dr. Rosa Gil, founder, president, and CEO for Community Life; Beatriz Coronel, director of Life is Precious; and Cynthia Santiago, founder of Latina Wellness Network. Ladies, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So this is a devastating statistical reality. 1 in 5 Latinas. Dr. Gill, can you run us through this terrible, this devastating epidemic, as some people call it, like why the Latina community is affected disproportionately by this issue?
Thank you very much for having us here to discuss a very, very important problem in the Latino community. Indeed, the rate of suicide among Latina adolescents is a concern. It has been like this for quite a long time. Actually, since 1995, the Centers for Disease Control show that Latina adolescents have much higher rate of suicide ideation, suicide attempts, than their counterparts in the African American community, the Asian community, and the white community. So this is very troublesome.
Mm-hmm. Can you explain to the viewers what the difference is between suicide ideation and attempts and actual suicide?
Yes, and I think that that's important for those who are watching this television program to understand the differences. It's almost like you start feeling bad about yourself. There may be triggers. You may feel depressed, and you begin to think, gee whiz, life is not worthwhile. And you and I and others, we may have good days and bad days where we feel low, but that doesn't mean that we think that life is not worth it to be lived. So the first thing is thinking, gee whiz, I really will not like to live. I mean, this is awful what's happening to me. Then there's one further step, which is you begin to think, how am I going to do it? And that becomes even a more serious issue. Because when you begin to think, how am I going to do this? Am I going to take pills? Am I going to cut my wrist? Whatever. Then the problem of the seriousness of the ideation is really troublesome. Then there is another step. After one is thinking, one may act on it or not, but then the next step is an attempt. And in the case of Latina adolescents, the attempt suicide is pretty high. And what we know from the researchers that those who attempt suicide, 1, 2, then third time, maybe a completed suicide. Mm-hmm. So we have a whole host of steps in this tragic phenomena that the viewers may need to understand. That one becomes sad, one begins to think about death, one begins to plan about it, then one begins to act on it, and hopefully, regretfully, there will not be a completion.
Mm-hmm. So your colleague, Beatriz, who's director of Life is Precious, so you come across these young Latinas who either are thinking about it or who unfortunately have attempted it. What does your day look like?
So the process is that we get the referral and we get the family to come in, and we have our intake process when we sort of assess the history and what's been going on and assess what the stressors are and what may have triggered these emotions. And then what we do is once that step is over, then they can begin the program. One of the requirements is that they are in treatment. So what we do is that we work closely with the therapists, psychiatrists, to assure that we're part of the treatment plan. So once we've assessed and done all of that, then they can begin the program. And we have 2 sites, one in the Bronx and one in Brooklyn, because these are where the rates are the highest. In the Bronx, we're there 6 days a week. In Brooklyn, we're there 3 days a week. So it's like a youth development program that focuses on girls who've had suicidal ideations or attempts or suffering from a mood disorder. So we have a creative arts therapy approach with the girls, where the way we address the issue is not directly through verbal as a therapist would do. And what we're finding is that with teenagers, it's hard for them to articulate and verbalize their emotions and what they're feeling. It's easier for them to express their emotions through the arts. So we have a dance movement therapist, a music therapist, and 2 art therapists. And they're the ones that run groups with the girls. And then we have case managers who address the issues and the stressors that are going on directly with the family members. If we don't work with the family members, then when the girls go back to the home, then the issue prevails. So they come to the program. The way that the day runs is that they come in, we kind of settle in, homework. Academics is also a major focus for us. About 50% of our girls have been left back at least once. Mm-hmm. So academic is something that we address. So we have tutors that work with our girls and do tutoring with them. So that's kind of like the first part. Then we have an art activity. One of the art therapists does an art activity with them, whether it's dance, movement, music, or art. And then the other component that we have is a healthy initiative, which kind of connects and teaches them that there's a connection between your emotional and physical well-being. So we cook with them. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of wraps up the day. And a lot of our girls are spending a lot of time with us, sometimes more so than their family members. So we kind of sit and eat together with them and kind of like simulate a family environment to kind of teach them ways to communicate with each other when they go back into the home. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how the day runs. Mm-hmm. Then Saturday actually is an important day to note. Saturday is our family day when the girls come in with their family members, and that's where we kind